Okay, you can start.
Oh, thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Global Empowerment Summit, for this opportunity for me to share some of my experience and also my story. When Andrea asked me what topic do I wanted to share in this opportunity, I thought, you know what, maybe ethical manufacturing will be a good topic because it's been on rage right now. A lot of people had more awareness about conscious consumption, mindfulness. So maybe giving some ideas about what it is from a perspective of small business managers who actually work on the industry might be good. So let me introduce myself. My name is Natali Tjahjadi. I was born and raised up in Bali, Indonesia, and that's where I am connecting right now. I graduated Master of Business Advance from the University of Queensland, Australia, and I've been working in my family business, a small garment manufacturing in Bali, for 7 years. When I first entered my family business, I had no designs or fashion background, zero passion for fashion. So literally everything was started from scratch, finishing uni, learning more on the job. Now, this is the overview of what I'm going to share today. Firstly, I want to give you a little bit background about the issues in fashion industry, then linear versus circular economy, ethical manufacturing, who we are as a small business, redefining our business direction, and also creating change, what we all can do to create change. So when you see fashion on TV, on magazine, we all thought that fashion looks glamorous. It's all like glam and glitz, runway, fashion magazine, beautiful models. But actually there are background stories that rarely being open to public. In the past 10 years, the consumption of shoppings has been increased dramatically, because if you go to any clothing, this image where all of the clothes are just everywhere, not really sure who will buy it or whether it will end up in a landfill. So after an incident in Rana Plaza, Bangladesh in 2013, where 8 stories building collapsed because of unsafe working environment, bad condition, and also I think many people died through that incident. More and more people raise awareness about dirty fashion, not only the impact for the people who work in the industry behind the scene, but also about the environmental impact, to dye clothes. Some of the non-ethical practices will throw the chemical waste or the dye in the river, so polluting river. Have you ever looked like an image in internet, a river colored pink, or a blue colored river, or sometimes it's a brown colored river? In fact, in Chinese denim capital, if you browse it later in Google, you can see that the water over there was like highly polluted. So it raised up an issue of who made my clothes. Customers are getting smarter and they really want to know who actually made their clothes. And it also became a fashion campaign. They call it Fashion Revolution, who made my clothes. Now, I quoted this from beatthechange.eco. The fashion industry by the numbers is an estimated 2.5 trillion industry. About 150 million lives are touched by the global apparel industry daily, from the production to the customer. And see this number, 80% women throughout the supply chain, from the maker to the buyer. The problem is 85% of the textiles are sent to landfills, an estimated 21 billion tons per year. And fashion contributes 20% of industrial waste, and 10% of global carbon emission. So if you know the most polluted industry in the world is oil and gas, fashion was the runner-up. And this data was back from like 2017, 2018. But I think there has not been that many changes right now. And in fact, if you look at your closet and you see like a regular t-shirt like this, a white t-shirt or a black t-shirt, to produce one t-shirt, the amount of water that needs to grow the cotton plant is about 2.7 billion, if I'm not mistaken. It's equal to the water that we consume or the water that we drink for 2.5 years. So this facts and statistics sometimes blew my mind. Oh my gosh, so many waste in this industry. And I quoted this from my good friend, Marina Chahbon, from Circular Close the Loop Fashion. In 2020, it's current linear economy. So what is linear economy? It means that you take, you make, you consume, you dispose. From the fiber goes to the textile, mill, yarn, or fabric, which means that they make the fabric, and then goes to clothing manufacturing, like us and like many other clothing manufacturers throughout the world. They do CMT, or cut, measure, and trim. And then goes to POS, point of selling, could be in retail, online shop, distributor, many other places as well. And then customer buy it, end of life. Some clothes last for 1 use, 2 use, 3 use, or rarely probably some clothes last for 10 years or 15 years. So in here we can see the pre-consumer waste process was something that you didn't see as a consumer, but it's something that we see as a maker. There are always waste and excessive extraction of primary resources. Now, the circular economy is the opposite side. This is the idea behind ethical manufacturing, and this came up to respond to the current trends of fast fashion, of linear economy, consumption, and disposal. So in circular fashion, the idea is for a textile production, they get the fabrics, or they get the fiber, and then they made a yarn out of it. They do the design, dyeing, processing, distribution, sale. And after sale, they do either reuse, recycle, or repurpose. And anything that is reused or recycle or repurpose can be putting back into the circle, which means that probably it can be used to be a fabric or a new clothes. So they're trying to close the loop for fashion by doing this initiative. Of course, it's not easy, and this is still on rise because this is still, in a sense, quite a new thing compared to all of the fashion practices that has been done so far. Now, what is ethical manufacturing then? Bear with me a little bit because I just want to give you like a proper definition. I quoted this from Kangafu. Ethical manufacturing is a holistic approach to the manufacturing process that cares about every part from production to the customer. The highlight here is cares. An ethical business ensures all part of their product production is safe, efficient, and focuses on the health of the workers, does not sacrifice worker safety or worker health for increased productivity. So the Rana Plaza incident that I mentioned earlier, those are that was the example of exploiting worker safety and worker health for increased productivity. And workers in an ethical business are treated fairly with balanced work hours, appropriate compensation, and thorough protection against injury. I watched a campaign, a fashion revolution campaign, I think a few years ago, where one lady held up like a poster, and she said, "I made your clothes for $1." And then another lady held up the clothes that the first lady made and said, I sell your clothes for $100. So there is like a gap or disparity in this whole industry. And that is where people who have more conscious approach in either production or consumption are trying to bridge the gap and trying to also focus more on sustainability. Now, a little bit about ourselves. We are Safi Widya Triguna from WTG Bali, established in 1994 in Kuta, Bali by my parents. And the clients are mainly right now in the last 10, 15 years, the client still mainly overseas from the Caribbean, Australia, Malaysia, the Netherlands, and also Indonesia. Oh, we have 20 people on our payroll, permanent staff, and 1 bag maker, and also 1 batik craftsman. So their work in-house. When I say the word in-house means that you see on that photo, those are my permanent staff worker, and we work there in our small factory. Some practices in fashions allow you to work at home, which is totally fine as long as the condition of working at home is safe, guaranteed, and they got good payment or good compensation. But we thought for the sake of making it more ethical and easier for us also to control the quality, we do our production in-house. Now, I would like to share with you a quick video of what we do so that it's easier for you to paint a picture in your mind. Oh, I think I cannot share the sound. I will share the video after my presentation to save some time. Now, these are some customers over the years. So from the Caribbean, they focus more on batik hand stamping and colorful, vibrant tropical motif. And other customers, they focus more on resort wear, casual wear. And this image, I use it here after I got permission from my clients. So if you notice, it's totally like different style, but we cater to what the customer wants. And one recent trend that I noticed is in the last few years, the client that came to me were smaller or startup brands that has this idea of, hey, I wanted to start a sustainable brand. I wanted to start an ethical fashion brand. So I think ethical fashion is, it's not just a myth anymore. People have been trying to do it. They're trying to make a change by incorporating that principle into their business. Back to our business, 1994, Widya Triguna was established, and from when it was established, 2005, it catered more to a quality-oriented and customized client. But when I got an opportunity to go to Australia in 2016 for a short course scholarship, I was exposed to the concept of ethical manufacturing. And that's when I started to learn all the things that I have shared earlier about the rise of fast fashion, the harmful impact on environment, how we should treat our employees and all the stakeholders in our supply chain. And that's also when I learned the bottom line, the new or sustainable bottom line, the 3 Ps. It's people, profit, and planet. The old bottom line is also 3 Ps, but it's profit, profit, and profit. So I thought, you know what? This resonated a lot with me as a human. And I believe that going forward, this will also resonate with a lot of people. So I spoke with my mom and we decided to readjust and adapt the new bottom line, people, profit, planet. And we started to apply elements of ethical manufacturing since 2016 and until now, and still, going forward. Because also one thing that I learned from that short course is that there is no finish line for ethical manufacturing. There's always like things that you can improve, things that you probably needs to work on. But as long as you have the, you have the intention to actually do it, then that is more important because you have the intention and you take action. So I thought, that's great, let's do what we can. And that's why I didn't claim myself as ethical manufacturer, but I always said we're trying to do business ethically and responsibly. And here are some ethical manufacturing principles that we have applied in our business. So the first one is no forced or child labor. This is quite funny because in India and China and maybe Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, this is quite a big deal. A lot of people exploited child to work. Anyone below 17 or 18 years old, and they don't get like proper compensation for sure. But if you see here, these are my staff, right? Fun facts, 2/3 of our staffs are women. Most of them are 35 years old. So it's not child labor, it's actually older labor generation in a sense. And the newest recruit already worked for us for about 4 years. Now back to the ethical manufacturing principles. Number 2 is wage and benefit. I also noticed this is like a big controversy in this industry. So, we spoke, me and my mom, and we decided, let's pay our worker minimum wage requirement from the government. So in Indonesia, we have different kind of minimum wage requirement from the government per province, from the government per regency, or in Malaysia, it's kind of like state. Also from the government as like the whole Indonesia. But Indonesia is big, so we decided to use the highest minimum wage, which is the Regency Badung, Bali minimum wage requirement, which is about 3 million rupiah. 3 million rupiah is, I don't know, if US dollar is 15,000, about $200 per month, which is pretty big in terms of, minimum wage, because most of my seamstresses or people who work for me, they're not highly educated, but they have skills. So we decided to pay minimum wage at least, and then adjust it more based on their level of experience and skills. And we also give them benefit. In Indonesia, we are, it is compulsory to join BPJS, or it's like a social security system that has been set by the government. There are 2 kinds of BPJS, for health and also for labor. So when the program launched, we have registered all of our employees to the program. And most people said, oh yeah, that's very, it's very obvious. But what they didn't know is if we registered our staff to the program, the staff only pay probably just 2% of their salary per month to enjoy the whole benefit. But the company needs to shoulder 8% of the salary for each staff to continue to making sure that they can receive the same benefit. So it's, the company makes some sacrifices, but it's also for the long-term benefit for all people involved. Number 3 is respect and no discrimination. This is what we try to do also in our company. We try to treat everyone with respect and create a good working environment, because if the working environment is good and positive, I believe productivity will rise. And that relates to, number 5, good working environment, meaning that, when you see some manufacturers, you see that they sit like very closely, and it was cramped, it was small, no proper air circulation. So we try to create a good working environment that caters also to safety of our worker, with good air circulation, big windows, and enough spaces between people. And when we did the renovation of our workplace back in 2019, we didn't know COVID will happen. So after we did the renovation, next year COVID hit us. It's a good coincidence, because we wouldn't have enough money to do any renovation because of the pandemic. But then because we have done the renovation, it's actually also quite proper with the new health measures. The next point is health and safety measures. And after pandemic, we added, we built sink. So everyone who come in, they wash their hands, do the temperature check. And if they're sick, I said, don't go to work, because, the whole company will get shut down if something happens. So everybody understands and everybody takes care of themselves responsibly. And for the working hours, we work from Monday to Friday, but with the COVID situation, we need to cut costs. So we only work Monday to Thursday, and I adjusted their salaries accordingly. But we work from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. with a lunch break in between. And the reason I do this is because I noticed that the proper working hours per week is between 40 to 48 hours, I think. So we're like in the middle of that. And last but not least is reducing waste. Not many people know that, but fashion, no matter how we try to reduce the waste from the fabric, especially, it's still really hard because it depends on some technical things, the cut, the fabric length, the fabric weight and stuff. But we try to do what we can to minimize the waste, and this is what we do. So for the scraps, we donate them to local foundations. Sometimes they give us, okay, look, you can give this to your staff, but most of the time we just donate them. That's also saving us a storage problem because over the time the scraps started to, get accumulated. So these are just like an example. When the local foundation came in, they brought the pickup and they just take in all of the stuff. And one of the stores in Ubud, Bali, Love Stories Bali, they also took our scraps and they make face masks out of it and this kimono. So they're very lovely. They named this kimono Natali Kimono. What they did is from the scraps that we had, they actually sew them one by one. So it looks like the one in the middle. It looks like one big patch of like new material. So we call it upcycling, which means you're not recycling as in you destroy it, but you use the waste that you have to upcycle, to create something new, a new clothes that is appropriate, that is, long lasting, good quality. So these are, and when she did this, I think there were like 10 women in the rural village involved. So those 10 women did the whole sewing thing to upcycle, and also another woman do the sewing for the clothes. On the bottom side, as you can see, that's some more common upcycling things that we can make. Coaster for glass or teacups and stuff, hair scrunchies, and the one just right beside me here is the fat quarters. Fat quarters is for quilters. So for quilters who like to sew patches and quilts, we also sell the bigger scrap of fabric waste and they can buy it. So we're just trying to reduce the waste. And this is what we can do as a consumer, as a client, and also as a change agent. Because I realize that maybe only few of you are very, very informed about fashion industry or the background story of fashion manufacturing. But you can do something to create change. I think the previous speaker mentioned that you just need to do one thing, one small step to create change. So as a client, if you're an upcoming fashion brand, my suggestion is you need to appreciate the production process. It's not going to be quick. That's what I'm going to say first. A lot of people think that I want to make this thing. Here is the picture. Okay, but the picture needs to have measurement, proper measurement. You also need to decide what fabric you want to use. And when you're trying to consider so many different elements, it becomes more complicated. So appreciate the production process. Give yourself enough time to try to do sampling and also going to production. If you're under a tight deadline because you said, I'm gonna be a fashion designer in 1 month, maybe rethink about it, because you're not just putting pressure on yourself, but you're also putting pressure on the maker. And we are not mind reader people. We need clear instructions so we can also meet your needs or meet your expectation. So appreciate the whole production process, give it a little bit more time, and if possible, learn a little bit about how the manufacturing works before getting in touch with the manufacturer if you're serious about starting your own fashion brand. And as a shopper or as a consumer, my suggestion is to have a mindful consumption, or I learned yesterday, conscious consumption, which means that it's quality over quantity. Less is more. It's better to buy less with more quality and to have each clothes a longer shelf life that you actually wear, that you actually love, and not just you buy because of impulse or you buy because of it's a sale. You know, we're women, so we can understand that impulse to, this is very cheap, I'm gonna buy it and one day I'm gonna use it, and that one day never comes. So I totally understand the urge to, you know, splurge. So my suggestion is to have a more mindful approach in buying and consumption, and that will help you make a better decision and save money in some time as well. And last, as a change agent, it's always great to support local businesses and people. One thing that came up after pandemic is the rise of local brands, you know, because the cost of exporting goods are getting higher and higher. Less flights means that the transportation costs between countries are also increasing. So more local brands are came out, and I also noticed during the pandemic how people are more conscious and more supportive of local brands. In fact, our company, we struggled quite a lot during the pandemic because most of my clients, they live in tourism-reliant countries and they don't really have an online-based business. So it's basically like a brick and mortar offline shops where customer came, they went on holiday, they shop, they bring the goods back home, and that's it. But the customer that came and go, and that come and go were, you know, enormous in number. So for so many years, we were stuck in the comfort zone, you know. Yeah, it's fine. The cruise ship will come, the travel will come. And then suddenly the COVID hit. So I think we lost about 80 to 85% of our sales after pandemic hit. So we need to pivot our business direction. What we did was that because we knew the available market was the closest market that we have, our local market in Indonesia. So we made face masks because that's the thing that still sells well in pandemic. In fact, that's the only thing that sells well from like the fashion items. So we made face masks, and that's one of my staff, Wayan. And I started to post pictures in social media, and my friend said, look, Nat, I need face masks and I would rather buy it from you. How much do you sell it? From one order, and then two order, and then my church and Toastmasters friends and other people in the community, they started to buy, the community that I'm active in. They started to buy more and more, and that helped us to get through to, you know, the toughest few months of the pandemic. Just making face masks. I think 1 month we made 3,000 face masks or so, just so, you know, to keep it going. In terms of profit, it's like tiny. You know, we still on survival mode, but we had something to do, and we also contribute to the community by making a good quality face mask. My friend who bought my mask last year, he told me, hey, your mask is really good. I still wear it until now, which I'm so grateful for because it's been 1 year. So it means also to reduce the consumption of, you know, the fashion items. So supporting local businesses and people are very crucial. If you're in Malaysia or wherever you are connecting from, look at your local businesses. Who are they? Maybe they sell a little bit more expensive than the bigger chain, but you know that your money goes straight to their family and to the people in grassroots level. So that are like some of the, you know, dilemma or like the conscious decision that you need to make. Yeah, these are like some of the things that we make, the mask, and this is also the fashion brand that we started this year to also pivot our business direction to respond to change and challenges. And let me leave you with this thought. Over the years, our staff and their families grew together with us. And we believe when you employ one person, you help support the whole family. And that's why we are doing our best to adapt and adjust so we can be relevant and keep our staff on our payroll for as long as we can. And that's it from me. These are like my company name and detail. If you want to connect with me, feel free to do it as well. And now I would like to try sharing my video. Let me see if I can do it. Okay. Can you see it? Andrea, the audio also audible? Yeah? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so that's it for my presentation, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
Hello, Natali.
Hi, Mr. Sin Fong Chan, right?
Yeah, from Melbourne.
Hi,
A
Mr.
lot of countries now these days, they talk about buying local. And because of the pandemic, a lot of people cannot export things or actually receive things from overseas. But unfortunately, we are not only talking about local distribution channel. Well, we export or we import things, there are a lot of other people are involved as well. When we talk about just local supplies or suppliers, we are benefiting those people that are at work within the channel. However, we have to talk about all those people in the export industries, the channels like transport industries as well. How do we really balance? I'm really concerned about every country, including Australia, are talking about buying local. And those people will importing them or exporting them could be in trouble.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for your question. I think that was so insightful because it's very relatable. The issues has been rising up currently, right? With the lockdown and transporting between borders getting harder. Also, you need to take care of people inside of your country. So in my opinion, it all come back to how the government handles the situation, because as a citizens or as like a business people, we do what we can, but there's a limit to our resources and there's a limit to what we can do. So for example, giving this scenario of, let's say, buying $100 shirt made by people who work on it locally, local supplier and stuff, compared to buying a, let's say, $20 shirt made in China. Sometimes when we don't really have money, we have no choice, but we buy the cheaper ones. But this is not, I would say this is not just a short-term issues. This is like a long-term issues that will impact at many different facets and many different people in the supply chain, just like what you said. I'm also concerned about this because, as a matter of fact, most of the fabrics that came to Indonesia came from, they actually came from China. So the threads, the yarn, some of the threads like the silk one, we cannot make it in Indonesia. So we always need to export. And I noticed the prices of the raw fabric and the raw fibers has been going up, especially since last year. So I would say there's nothing much that we can do in terms of policy making, because that's not our jurisdiction. What I would say is it depends on which hat that we are wearing. If we are wearing a customer hat, then really it depends on your circumstances and discretion, up to you. If we're wearing a more either a manufacturer or people in the supply chain, and just like you said, this is not just like a local supply chain, this is like a global supply chain. It has been affected. So I would say I can't really answer this question, sir. I'm sorry, because this involves so many different elements that even I cannot predict. But I know what I can do, and maybe you also know what you can do. Depends on the hats that you're wearing. So I guess that's all I can say, sir.
Thank you, Natali.
Thank you.
Natali, could you please help me with stopping the live stream or giving me back the hosting rights? Because I made you host, my computer was sleepy and tired, so...
Okay, Andrea.
Thank you.
Make host.
Thank you. And in the meantime, please, if you have questions, just ask. I'm stopping the live